Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the 10 Laws Podcast with East Forest. I'm Mr. Forest, and I'm back from the tour. Been about a month out, and this week I have a great episode because I got to sit down with my dear sweetheart, Marissa Rada-Wepner. Within hours of getting back, so things are very fresh for us, and we're going to tell you all the behind-the-scenes stuff of the tour, the highs and the lows, as it were. Hey, I'll admit, we're pretty raw. We got back last night around midnight. It was below freezing, and we drove back with no window in the car. More on that at the end of this episode, but we're a little fried, so keep that as we're a little fried and a little over-caffeinated, I'd say, at least for myself on this episode. But we're plowing through and getting back into the swing of things, and I say all my thank yous and happiness and gratitude for everyone who came on the tour, but I'll say it again. Thank you to everyone who came out to support. Can't wait to share this episode with you and more soon about what's coming in 2023. But right now, I just need to take a beat and regroup and just let things settle, as it were. Let the natural waves come and go. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And if you're looking for gifts, thanks for thinking about supporting East Forest through the store or other ways if that feels good to you. And, if you want to give donations, you can always do that too. Reach out at info@eastforest.org or on social media. And thank you so much to our special Patreon council members. I'm actually doing our council right now, tonight. This will come out in a few days, but I do it once a month. We do a monthly Zoom council, live music meditation. And I also get to share all sorts of demos and unreleased material over there and other things like that. And on December 17th, we are doing a special live stream with Peter Broderick. Peter's amazing. He lives in Ireland. And if you like my music, you like his music if you don't know it already. And we're going to do a live stream from my studio here in Boise, Idaho. It's going to be for the solstice. It's going to be long form, ceremony style. Can't wait to share that with you. Go to eastforest.org. There's more info on everything. That's December 17th. And that event's being hosted by Journey Space. So go to journeyspace.com if you would like to watch that live stream. And you can also sign up for one of our facilitated groups and dive in much, much deeper. That includes integration circles, preparation. It's quite a rich experience, and the magic is doing that together in groups with other people. So check it out, learn more. It's a great opportunity. journeyspace.com. And thank you for everyone who's been listening to the Headwaters album. I hope you're enjoying that, and I hope you enjoyed the story about it last week or the week before that. I've been loved seeing your responses online, and thank you for sharing it and for diving into the work. As always, that's what this is all about, sort of our conversation between music and creativity and process and walking our walk together. But that's it. I want to dive into this special Radha Krishna Roundtable post-US West tour roundup story time. Let's sit around the fire, friends. So here we are. We just got back from this magical, easy breezy tour, as we were wanting to call it. And we wanted to do a roundup, talk about how it went. So let's start with the positive.
Okay.
It could be fun to kind of go through like chronologically. But all in all, I just do want to say thank you to everyone who came out. We met so many amazing people. I think almost 4,300, 4,500 people we crossed paths with in the flesh. And that's really magical. And I want to honor the time and resources that people put into coming to these shows and the risks they took and the belief they had in us to do it. That means a lot to me. And for us, it was an experiment and taking some risks and really doing our best to try and do something different here and meaningful. And I'm proud of that.
You should be. Your biggest endeavor to date, I'd say.
Yeah.
And you grew in ways that, as your partner, I've been hearing you desire for years and years and years.
Yeah.
One day I'll have a tour bus. One day I'll have my own sound guy. One day I'll have my own lighting guy. One day I'll have somebody set up and break down my gear.
Yeah.
And all those things happened and more.
Yeah. So all that was great. And, I want to thank Adam and Live Night Events. Adam and I have been working on putting something like this together for a very long time, before COVID. And this was sort of like the iteration of what we were aiming towards. And I want to thank everyone on my team for everything they've done. Sean and Vivek and Lisa, Miranda. There's so much that goes on. So we will tell you lots of juicy personal stuff real. We're going to get real here. But let's instead, maybe we should just go through it as opposed to like, let's talk about the good, let's talk about the difficult.
Yeah, no agenda. But I want to say thank you as well to all the fans that came out and all the support we had along the way, all the different folks working at all the venues, all the volunteers that we had.
Yeah.
So much support, but meeting so many fans who are so happy to be in ceremony with you.
Yeah.
To spend time with you. It was an honor to help that process.
Yeah, so we were really on the road a month. I think we left in early October. We just got back last night.
We left end of October.
Sorry, yeah. We left right before Halloween. We got back and people have Christmas decorations up.
Yes.
That was our note. And we got back last night. We'll tell you about that. That was a very cold, long ride. But we did a rehearsal in Salt Lake, and all was sort of cool, more or less, out of the gate. Had a nice rehearsal, and we're very excited. And we flew to Boulder, Colorado for the first show, which is a venue show. And that's where we got on the tour bus for the first time after that show.
Mm-hmm. At that show, Sheila Bringy, guest flautist.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, she played the Ben Suri flute. It was amazing. But, I learned some lessons out of the gate because that was a venue show.
Yeah, venue meaning people are seated in chairs looking at East Forest on stage.
Not in the round. And I was trying to think like, okay, do I do this a little differently or do I not? And I had this whole plan at the end where I was like, well, I'm in a venue and I'm a fucking rock star, so I'm just going to say goodnight and they're going to applaud like crazy and I'll come back and do some encores. That I planned it.
What happened was Sheila was on stage and you played this beautiful version of Sit Around the Fire where she guested and it was epic. And then you say, thank you, Sheila. Thank you. Good night. And both of you walk off stage. But we had set the crowd up where when I did my intro, I said, look, you don't have to clap between every song.
Right.
It'll be obvious. I don't think I said this yet. I just said you don't have to clap between every song. Wait till the end.
Yeah.
And so then when you walk off stage, the clapping was like,
well, first lesson I learned here is like some people are on medicine, they're on drugs, and it's not exactly like an average show, and so you almost have to really hold the hand of the audience to walk them through. And I hadn't done something. I've done a lot of different shows in my career, but it was sort of like we're doing a ceremony tour.
Let's just say it was the most awkward,
people were confused,
the most uncomfortable.
People were confused.
End of show clap experience, so much so I even tried to get everybody going and do some pretty rapid clapping and some woohoos. Nobody caught on, and he ended up not coming back on stage because they didn't give him an encore clap to come back on stage. The ceremony didn't end with a goodbye. It's just kind of like a whimper fizzle where then people awkwardly slunk out. I guess it's over.
That was hard.
It was so bad. Like a 10 out of 10 bad.
If people are wondering if they're watching this video, I'm trying to adjust our mic levels so it isn't screwed up for the rest of this. But
it was so bad. I felt so bad for you because then you felt like, well, my show was terrible. My ceremony performance was terrible.
It was a good... Up to that, pretty good. Anytime the first
your
show
opening too. You decided to do that differently as well.
Yeah, I had this whole vision. I'm like, I'm gonna come out and say nothing. I'm gonna be like a mime and just
But you wanted
start
the
with
audience
music.
Participation
which
while
they
miming.
They did. They were awesome. I think, but it was my own fault for I took some risks. I wanted to try some new things, and we learned a lot. I wouldn't call it a bad show by any means, but
No.
I do apologize about the ending because I had 2 more excellent songs to play that I didn't get to play. And I remember doing the show and looking out in the audience and seeing a guy in dead center in the audience, and he was wearing like a blindfold.
He was wearing the numinous mask, probably.
No, it was like a big.
Oh,
he brought
the
his
actual
own.
mindfold.
Yeah,
Okay.
but what's funny is when someone's sitting in a seat facing the stage, yet it's like they're watching something, but they've blindfolded themselves. It was a very strange sight, and that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, oh. This is a little different. People are wanting to go into that ceremony space, and some people
Which we knew
are doing it.
Yeah.
And so we learned some lessons there. But I'll say this. I'm looking forward to going back to Boulder. I think that community is a place I have not played in Boulder. Well, it's been many, many years.
Well, they want a lie down show too.
And I feel we want to make that happen, and I hope it can happen in the near future in 2023. So... And we didn't use our piano there. They had their own piano, right?
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. So everything was a little different. And everyone's just like, we're getting into this. Let's trying to figure things out. It was step 1. So thank you, Boulder, for being step 1. And hey, on the upside, we did some things there we never did the rest of the tour. I played some songs I didn't play in the set.
Yeah.
So they got some bonuses there for sure.
And the acoustics in that room were really beautiful. The sound in the room.
E-Town Hall. It was cool. It was cool. And I met some great people. And then that night we get on the tour bus and I'm thinking, oh my God, tour bus. I can't believe I've made it after 20 years.
We were lying in the back. So the tour bus is like 8 bunks in the middle. There's the front's like lounge, kitchen, bathroom, benches
it can sleep
to
12,
sit.
but we...
And then in the middle, it's 4 bunks on each side, one on top of the other. So 2 and then 2 and then 2 and then 2 on the other side. So there's 8 total, right? And then the back portion of the bus, there's a door. And then we had probably the equivalent of like a full bed and then a bench. And we're lying in the bed.
Maybe a full, yeah.
And you're like, babe, this is my tour bus. This is it. And you were for a moment.
We hadn't left yet.
Yeah, we're still outside. For a moment, you were just so joyful. You were so like, the thing I've been talking about, it's happened. Here it is.
And just for the record, I did, even when things were really difficult, I kept stepping back and saying that. I'm like, by the way,
this is my bus.
This is pretty awesome.
This is my bus. And you were so joyful. I literally think it was maybe all of 30 seconds. And then the bus turned on to drive from Boulder to Salt Lake City that evening while we were supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah.
And all of these diesel fumes poured into the back cabin where we were.
Yeah.
And you hop up and you're just a madman. And then we had to...
Well, let's put a asterisk on that.
Okay.
Diesel fumes were coming into the back bedroom, like out of the gate, and we're like, "What's happening? I think I might die if
we can't be in this enclosed room for 8 hours with fumes coming in.
So we shut the door. You know, it's already a brouhaha. Like what's
it's already 1 a.m.
Yeah, you just performed. The bus is taking off, so we clear out gear on the 2 empty bunks in the galley or whatever. And we sleep up there.
We're on the top bunks now because we're the last to pick a bunk too, because we weren't picking a bunk. So we got
the worst bunks.
The worst bunks. Yeah. We're up top in the back. And then as we're driving, one of the worst drives is that pass through Wyoming.
If you head west out of Boulder and we were heading towards
Salt Lake
City, we had to go over that.
And we went through a blizzard snowstorm.
Yes.
And it's our first night on the bus. And the way the bus was moving, we on the top, at least I felt, and I think you did too, like you're going to roll off into space.
No, I think everyone slept maybe an hour at best because of the extreme jostling of the storm and elevation and
and our first night on a bus.
It was intense.
I think we thought being on a bus, at least my interpretation was like, it's going to be like first class in a plane where we get to lie down. It's going to be smooth.
Well, let's put it this way. This bus was a rental, and it's an older bus. I mean, many things. It had seen some tours.
Instead of it flying like a plane, it was like an old rickety 1940s roller coaster.
The shocks were very old. Things
so
would break constantly.
Constant jostling, shaking, loud, moving, rattling.
Yeah. So that was a very, very hard night. I thought it was just me who couldn't sleep. But I'm sitting there in the bunk. It's 4 a.m. I'm wide awake.
You hadn't slept at all.
And I'm thinking, how, like, I'm screwed. Like, how are we ever going to do this tour? I thought, I can't sleep on this bus. Therefore, I'm going to die.
Therefore, I will die.
No, I actually had all these terrible thoughts about, like, I can't tour.
I know. He woke me up in the middle of the night.
What do I do?
And he's like, babe, this is it. We're done. Everything's done.
Well, I don't see how I can grow. Done. Because look, tour buses, it sounds like awesome, but it's also functional. Like, it allows you to drive at night so you can play a show the next day. Sometimes you wouldn't even be able to make it. So it's really just like, it's the only way. You need to be able to play roughly 5 shows a week is the goal to make it work financially, because you're paying the crew, the bus, everything, the lighting, rentals, sound. It's all sort of on weekly rental basis. So anyway, I'm thinking, like, the only thing here is maybe I fly and I stay in a hotel, but I think that's impossible. And I went through the whole thing in my head, of course. I went through the whole itinerary. Yeah. Is this even possible? And I was like, it's not. So
you were at the spot of just like, we're done. This is done.
Well, camaraderie. When I got up the next day, everyone else had been through a similar experience of like, that was a very, very difficult, except for one person. Very, very difficult night that was like about as bad as it gets. So I was like, oh, okay. So let's fast forward through our...
Well, we finally got to Salt Lake City too, and there was a diesel leak. Like, there was literally a hole in the back compartment right above the engine that then got fixed. Sort of. Yeah, they had to bring someone in, and they're like, we fixed it. But yeah, we found that basically, I don't know why the engine... We're basically over the engine in the back, and I don't know why it was spilling fumes, but like, I kept saying, no, it's still coming through like the outlets. There were other holes. And I ended up, after a couple days, because we just opened the windows and it was sub-zero temperatures, I just took a bunch of gaff tape. I was like, fuck this. I got the gaff tape from under the bus. I gaff taped like the entire back. Any cracks and holes. I just gaff taped the whole damn thing, which looked ridiculous. Kind of worked. You know, some days you're like, we're still alive. Here we are today. You and
I. And I had bought a carbon monoxide alarm, and that took a week to get, and shoved it in this. Anyway. Oh my God. And
Salt Lake City, though, the show that night was really beautiful. I think most of us agree that it was one of our favorites. The community.
So second show, it was
the
Salt Lake.
Music.
Yeah, we did the first, like, in the round. I don't know, the community that showed up for that one was, there was a magical alchemy of attention and warmth, and maybe, I don't know, but it was one of the best feeling shows of the tour. And so that was nice, because we're like, okay, and that's when I fixed the ending where I'm like,
yes,
just a note to everyone on a substance, here's how this is going to go. We kind of spelled that out for people, and they were very happy about that. Now we're going to clap. Now we're not. Now we're going to do an encore. Now everyone's happy. Now you go home. You know? Okay, sounds good.
And then we continue to do that for all the rest of the shows.
And
work
so
that kink out.
We left there, and when I woke up, I slept better, but I realized because the bus wasn't moving. And I thought, that's odd. And so it was like in the morning when I woke up, and the reason the bus wasn't moving is because the highway was closed.
No, that was the next day.
Yeah, that's what I mean, the next day.
Well, we went to Boise, we played a show, and then after Boise, we were driving to Oregon.
Sorry. So we went to Boise, which was nice because obviously we live here, so we were able to stop at the house, get things, take a sauna during the day before sound check.
We were like, we're back on track. We're back on track.
But I just listened to the multi-tracks, and I have a recording of what happened in Boise.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Well, it's just your microphone.
Okay. What happened in Boise was every show I would do an opening introduction. I would set the container. I would go through the group agreements. Kind of like Krishna was saying, walking people through the ending, like this is how we're going to end. I started out with this is how we're going to begin. This is how we're going to behave towards each other. Yep. This is how we'll all help each other have the best experience possible. Went through like a whole list of things. Did our land acknowledgement in each city, and then did a practice to start to drop people in and help them set an intention. But while I was doing the kind of guidelines in Boise, I got heckled.
Well, you said I think you were saying about let's be mindful of movement in the space and not to disturb. We're all in tender processes, just basic kind of, hey, everybody, let's keep in mind that we're all in deep experiences here. Very basic comment.
And somebody yelled from the back, "What do you mean by distracting?" And I was
he yelled into the room.
And I couldn't see. I put my hand up. I was like, and I said, "Who is that back there?" And he said, "Tony." And then I recognized, oh, this is Tony that I know.
Right, we're in your hometown.
We're in my hometown. I said, "Oh, Tony." And he goes, "Yeah, Tony." Kind of making fun of me for even asking who it was. That's how it felt to me. And then he said, "Show us what you mean by distracting." And I said, "Really?
Show us?"
Yeah.
It's well, let me point at you.
And I moved my arms in the air, and I was like, kind of did like a big wingspan movement. And he got angry and said, "Oh, you mean we can't dance?" And I said, "Oh, no, you can dance, but just dance around the edge, like not up here in the middle." "Well, this isn't a space to dance in. I'm leaving." And started.
But didn't he stand up?
Well, he was standing the whole time.
Like he got aggressive
and started
immediately.
Walking towards me, towards the front, and yelling and super upset because he felt like we were saying you couldn't dance, which isn't what I was saying. It was just kind of be aware of everybody around you. That seems like a fair ask to me.
Our front of house sound guy jumped up, one of the good things he did on tour, and it immediately came out and was like, "Hey, man, let's take this to the let's talk about this. Let's de-escalate."
Everybody else in the audience is just stunned and silent and shocked.
So mind you, I'm downstairs using the restroom right before I'm going to come up while you're doing your intro, and I hear like a male voice, and I'm like, "That's not part of the show." What's?
Yeah, me interacting with a male voice.
I heard like a loud male voice. I'm like, "What?" And I come upstairs to come on into the main auditorium, and they had now they're walking him.
He'd been escorted
I basically
out.
bump into a guy swearing and agitated and at we're gonna go level. Fuck this, blah. And I was just I bump into this guy, and I'm just like, what's happening? I don't know what's happening. And I sort of suss out that he's upset and they're trying to take him outside to talk. And I come in the main room and you continue. And of course, now my adrenaline level, I went into fight or flight. Of course, your body's naturally like, what do I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
That was very difficult to recover from, to step on stage.
Well, you did it very seamlessly. And I brought it around too because I was like, this is an honest moment where I was like, what was I even talking about? And then I said, "Oh yeah, distraction."
Well, props to the audience.
I was trying to tell you what a distraction looked like. We had a very clear example of one. Okay. I felt too, it was kind of like a spirit ejection is what I call it. Like if we hadn't dealt with him then, eventually somewhere during the ceremony, he would have made a disruption that would have been maybe even bigger.
And just to be clear, that was not like a logical response or discussion. Like there was something very off about it. Everyone sensed immediately like, wow, this is not about distraction or dancing.
Somebody said they thought like, oh, it's a plant that they do this so she can have this conversation.
Lenny Bruce style?
No.
That'd be amazing. If
No.
So, I mean, look, yeah, I guess I'm glad it happened before the show started, but it happened within 30 seconds.
Overall, that was the largest disruption we had in any of the cities with anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And you had organized wonderful volunteer sitters that had peer support, psychedelic, a real experience at every city.
Yeah, 2 to 5 sitters in every city were volunteering that I coordinated with. I created like a whole ceremony sitter guidebook. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. This is what you look out for.
So we absolutely had a lot of attention going towards creating the best we could for a safe space, physically, emotionally, recognizing that people are coming from all different walks of life, as they do to any event, but we're actually trying to just say like, no, we will do what we can, even though we're...
Yeah, holding it in like a really non-judgmental space of like, we get it, you're here, we want you to feel safe. If you need anything, please ask. If you are disturbing others in some way that you're maybe not even aware of, we might
we had a secondary space at every event to take someone if they wanted to get somewhere a little quiet. Tony could have gone there, but we de-escalated. We're like, hey man, we give you your money back. You can take off. And I think
no, you can come back in.
Yeah, I know. We actually do you understand what the event is now? Would you like to stay or go home? And he actually thought about it. I was like, I think I'll go home. I was like, okay, all right. I mean, I couldn't imagine that was going to turn around. And I'm not sure what he thought the event was going to be. But even if you come into a space and it's like, oh, everyone's sitting down on the floor. And
that's what he said. He yelled at me. What is this? Some yoga nidra experience?
he's a yogi, apparently. The guy wrote us later and didn't really apologize. Just said, like, I'll be better prepared next time. Thanks so much. And never apologized to you.
We have people who dance at our ceremonies. It's not like dancing isn't allowed.
Yeah, you were actually saying, if you want to move, do it on the periphery. That's all.
That's
and
it.
Guy was looking for a fight. And he picked one with you. And
the only people I had to ask them to stop what they were doing was in one city when they were like acro yogaing, which was it was drawing a lot of attention, a lot of eyes.
And they probably were like, fine.
And they were 100%
yeah,
fine.
Or some people get a little into their sexuality, and that's also like, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah, that
and we
happened.
We had to rein that in a few times. What'd you call it?
Shiva Shakti. I asked people to not go full into Shiva Shakti mode, expose in this space, because that's not what it's set up for. I said, congratulations on having that as part of your relationship, but you don't have to like save it. You can save it.
I mean, we'll continue here, but it's like the feelings I feel are a multitude of feelings. Like I feel so proud of what we did and satisfied and excited, but I also feel broken and just completely emaciated physically and emotionally by the experience. And that's not at all a reflection on our community. It's just sort of the process of touring and a lot of back-end things that happened that had nothing to do. I thought the shows, all in all, were really strong. All of them. But there were some issues that came up for a couple, like that one, but it's like we overcame as a community, and they really did. Shout out to everyone there. Is just like, hey, we're okay. All right, let's reorient. Let's get into this. Let's do it. We're still here, and we did it.
Yeah, and I had many people come up to me afterwards and say that they felt like the container was held really well. The container
was beautiful.
Was super safe. They were able to go deep because they felt that. And they trusted it. That was the only feedback I got across the board, city to city. Yeah. And that was very intentional. We really tried to hold that line for everyone.
Yeah, and I feel like I learned a lot too, and continued to try and improve night to night. And so.
What was one of your favorite songs to perform?
Well, gosh. So many, but I did a lot of stuff with the piano we brought, and that was nice. The opening song was a rendition I created of a song called Opening off the Held album, but it was completely different, lots of like beats, and I thought that was fun. And I also really liked doing the Sit Around the Fire. I wrote John Hopkins and asked him, is it cool if I do a live rendition of this? And he was totally nice. So yeah, of course, man. And that was always fun because it's such an epic piece. It's long and it really goes somewhere. And after you've earned so much emotional collateral after the whole set, and you get to that, and it was really special. And I haven't, until that song, I'd never worked with old Ram Dass recordings. So for me too, it's kind of new. It's like, oh, it's young Ram Dass talking over the speakers. But there was some also really magical improvisations that happened over the tour.
Yeah.
Some really, really special ones where I just felt like, wow, boom, we hit the pocket together. Like, and that's what you live for as an artist and as an audience too, I think. So I'm really proud of the music. I thought we did our best to, when we kept tweaking the sound every night, we really would have meetings about how can we improve it, what can we do for people. We'd take people's feedback. We tried to really learn, and we did over the course. And that's the experiment. That's the co-creation aspect of doing this. So we don't have to nuts and bolt every show, but I don't know. We went from there to...
Well, then after Boise was the snowstorm that you were saying.
Yeah, we got stuck on the highway for...
6.5 hours going into Oregon.
It was like a 17-hour trip instead of a 9-hour trip.
Yeah.
But the first half of that was actually quite lovely, just in the
It was so
snowstorm and
beautiful.
connecting as a crew and a group. But we had some disagreements out of the gate, right? We had a meeting where I was trying to like welcome everyone and be like, I'm so grateful. Here we are. This is starting. Try to take that role. And I had a wellness policy, let's call it, which is essentially based around, I'm hoping we can finish this tour and not get sick in the middle of the fall when we're still in a pandemic and the flu's going around. And so
RSV.
I had asked our crew to wear masks just during the show, just because we're around hundreds and hundreds of people. We're not up in booths and stuff. And that's it. There was nothing else. There was no like COVID tests. There was no vaccination stuff. It's just like, and if you're sick on the bus, we should probably wear a mask. And sure enough, people start getting sick real quick. And even to the point where one of our members got very sick. I was very concerned about him. Where, the bus air is recirculated. I got off the bus. This is a little later in the tour. And I did have to, for 1 or 2 days, was flying.
I think one day you flew.
Which fucking sucks. It sounds cool. It's not. It's like, you go to the airport, the tour's in, and then I have to meet up with the tour. And it's like, I'm not even on the bus. Just because I'm like, I want to finish the shows.
Yeah.
And we need everyone on the tour.
But we had people say they refused to wear masks during. Just because that's their
one member
personal belief.
Refused.
Well, then
the others said I'd prefer not to, but they did.
Yeah, I'm
No
just
one
a team
wanted
player.
to.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what you need? You got it, babe. I'll put on a mask for you. Fine.
Couple hours.
You're the only one that didn't have to wear a mask.
Well, I can't.
I know,
singing.
you're performing.
In some ways, a lot of exposure up there. I also wanted to come out and hang with, so to speak, at the merch table or say hi to everyone afterwards. But I was like, I'm afraid I'll pick something up and then the tour's over.
You stayed healthy the whole time, at least in that regard.
Barely. I mean, I had an entire suitcase of natural vitamins and immunity stuff. I was just shoving down my face.
Supplements.
All day. And thank you so much to my body and the supplement world.
Your apple cider vinegar
gargling every night.
Every show.
And
all your packets. I got sick.
We should have been sponsored by Trace Minerals packets. Yeah, you got sick. It was hard. It's hard when you get sick and you're not sleeping much and you're going. You arrive somewhere in the morning. You got like 2 hours until basically load in, sound check, doors, show, eat, pack up, back on the bus, moving, hoping you sleep.
Yeah, you enter this weird bubble where all the rest of the outside world you can't really engage with, follow, pay attention to. It's just the day to day.
Yeah. So we did eventually make her. We had that big brouhaha, and that was really difficult because it was just sort of unexpected. We had emails about this in advance. I thought we covered this already, and didn't mean to make it into a big like immediate problem. So we roll into Seattle? No, Vancouver. Yeah, which is crossing the border. There was some unexpected, like, oh my God, we need serial numbers of everything and all this stuff where you're going to be charged like $60,000 in fees. And we had to drop the merch somewhere because you can't take all the merch up. We have to pay taxes on it. And some of that was expected. Some of that was unexpected. That was another, like, we were on the side of a road
in Bellingham.
At a friend of someone on the tour, like just literally like some country road. It was the strangest thing. Just like unloading like, oh my God, like 30 boxes of yoga mats and merch, trying to just like put it somewhere in someone's massive
in the
garage.
Snow, in the cold.
That guy was real nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, in the rain, in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
So we get up to Vancouver. It was the largest venue. It's 500 people.
Numinous was there, our sponsor.
One of their hometowns, and that was awesome to kind of see their community show up in such a big way.
Mm-hmm.
I did a multi-camera filming of that event, and it was great. It was a powerful event. It was a big one, very big one. I don't remember what else to say about that one, but let's move on. And actually a beautiful day in Vancouver. We were barely
it was
there.
Gorgeous.
I didn't see anything, but
I went on a walk for a while. That really helped.
I walked around the nearby car dealerships. That's all that was nearby. I was like, oh my God. I could see Vancouver in the mountains in the distance.
Then we came back to Seattle, and my daughter came to the show, and my brother. I was happy about that.
Yeah, one thing that was, once we started seeing this quite strongly once we got into Seattle, but all the cities, especially the bigger cities we went through, such a deep houselessness, homelessness issue. It's just heartbreaking. I mean, oh God, it's just everywhere. It really exploded. And a lot of times these venues were right in the middle of all of it. And it was just a strange dichotomy. I mean, San Francisco is one of the weirdest, where you pull up this bus and as the sun goes down, everyone's boarding everything up. And they're like, yeah, you don't want to stay here. And we were supposed to spend the night there in that alley.
In San Francisco.
And I was like, we should probably not be here all night tonight, Just like a boarded up tank sitting on this back alley.
Did we go to Santa Cruz early? What did we do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we need to hit the road, and unfortunately. And anyway, Seattle was cool. I mean, you used to live in Seattle.
Briefly, like 9 months.
But it's still nice to walk around, get some coffee, went to the record shop. But it was also heartbreaking. But the show was a very tight, smaller venue, and we packed everybody in. It was beautiful.
Great community.
Yeah, and then we headed down to Portland, which was cool because
your town.
My family was there, a lot of my friends, and that was special.
That venue ended up being 3,000 square feet smaller than we had anticipated.
I don't know if we should say we, but the
tour manager
or production manager. Yeah, so another squeezer. And then we had a very long drive. I think I flew, right, to Sacramento, to Nevada City.
Oh, yeah. We were going to stay the night.
That's where people were very sick.
We had a day off and was like, oh, we'll go to these like Mount Shasta hot springs on the day off.
We
had like a wellness day planned and it all got scrapped. And we're like, nope, head straight to Sacramento, get a hotel. And it was like a motel. It was like, it was the worst place that we had stayed.
People were so
Sacramento.
sick. I mean, at that point, it was really like, are we going to be able to continue?
Yeah, I was sick and Max was super sick. Like he thought
really
he was going to go home.
Yeah, and that's so. In some ways, the day off became a weird recovery situation, and it gave us a little buffer to see if people could recover enough to continue, and they did.
To Nevada City,
barely.
Yeah,
and Nevada City, beautiful town.
We had fun there.
Yeah,
just
that was
kind of walking around the downtown. Good food.
Second show that was also a seated venue. Miners
the
Foundry.
Only other one that was seating in chairs facing a stage.
And this one I approached, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to change anything at all from these other dates. I'm just going to approach it exactly the same.
Well, you weren't going to do it like Boulder.
Yeah, and talked about it out of the gate. It's like, hey, let's acknowledge you're sitting in seats and you're not lying down, but that's okay. And let's proceed and not be in this weird middle zone. Let's just do this. And I think that worked.
I think so too.
I learned a few lessons there. And we did do the encore. And then we continued on to San Francisco. And that was a tough one because it was actually hard for me on a few levels. I thought I played as best I could. But the room we rented was the old Fillmore West, a very famous venue, which I thought, okay, cool, right? Turns out I walk in this place, it's basically like a giant parking garage. They didn't have heat. Not like our heat doesn't work.
They didn't have lighting.
No lighting, no heat. And I immediately said, it's really cold in here. And we're like, well, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. We've emailed everyone. I was very upset. And because it's a concrete box, a very large one, the sound is quite boomy. And I immediately started talking to our sound guys, like, we got to come up with a plan because this is a problem.
Huge. The ceilings were like what? I mean, what were the dimensions of that room?
I don't know.
It was so big.
Massive. But that was a hard one because I had, I've been talking and working with a record label, Bright Antenna, and lovely people. And they're so sweet. They all came. It's like, I don't know, 10 of them or something. And I wanted to be a good host, and all of our community. That's all I want to do is just be a good host. I'm doing everything I can to put on a good show, and I can't in that moment overcome. It's so cold in here, and I'm sorry. Or like the sound is boomy, and it's just physics, and there's nothing I can.
Just echoed everywhere, and then it was like muddy and just like.
Well, anytime you're doing shows in the round like this, you're already acoustically. You're taking massive risks. It's very challenging, and so we're trying to do this immersive thing, but there are sonic challenges that are you don't have when you do something in a theater and the sound's pointing one direction.
And the whole room is designed for sound.
Right, and we're doing this in the name of creating a different immersive experience, but we're taking risks. So after that show, I felt sad because it's like I felt like I played as well as I could, but I said you need to email every single ticket holder and apologize for the heat, mostly the lack of it.
It was so cold. There was a big garage door open to the outside that we had been using that day for load-in.
Yeah.
And that was still open during the show. And maybe about 3 songs in, I was like, why is this still open? We have to close this thing.
Yeah.
And it was, it's going to make a really loud sound. And I would never do anything to interrupt your show. But it was such a desperate moment. It was like, we're going to have to do it anyways.
Shut the damn door.
Like whatever
step
sound
one
is
is
going to
plug
make.
the holes. Yeah.
Whatever sound it's going to make, we just have to go for
Everyone
it.
probably sighed a relief.
It's freezing.
Well, I just want to apologize to anyone who had trouble with the environmental issues at that show. That should have been avoided before we even showed up. Of course, that was like the booking of the venue, and I'll take responsibility as the artist for it is my show, but I was blindsided when I got there and very upset. And I did my best to wag my finger and say, we got to do this, we got to do that. But there was nothing I could do besides cancel the show. Which is hard to do. So that was a low point. I was like, as far as like environmental issues, And
not everybody was unhappy. They weren't.
And thank you for those who said like, I just understand it's hard to drop in when your basic needs aren't met. And that's a great metaphor for life.
Totally.
That's so true. It just shows you like everyone on this planet, how we want to give everyone equal support for inner work. And that starts with not being hungry, not being cold, not being sick, These are the things we need to cover in the world so that we all can like live our fullness of our spiritual lives. And there it was, front and center. So we had to buck up and move on from there. We went to Santa Cruz, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, and afterwards, like I said, like outside was just so difficult, socioeconomic devastation, and it was really crazy. And we were like, we have to leave. It's so intense out here. So we did. We had no option, really. Santa Cruz was our breath of fresh air, literally, because when we woke up and we were about a mile from the ocean, and I took a run, probably for the first time.
We took a run.
Yeah, down to the beach.
Yeah, we ran to the beach.
Walked on the beach together.
Oh, I was ecstatic. It was so good.
Felt warm.
I was in a tank top. We went on a jog. It was sunny.
Got some coffee.
We got our elixirs.
Yeah. We're like, let's get some, let's get a smoothie or something.
Let's get a good juice. Let's go get an acai bowl.
So we're walking down the street. Instead of an acai place or juice place, we see it said metaphysical elixirs. And of course, we're like, let's do it.
So we're in downtown Santa Cruz. If you guys are there, it's the Hammock Bar. The Hammock Bar elixir place. You walk in, it's like kind of like a
full-size Merlin.
Apothecary medieval vibe is what's going on. There is a full-size Merlin there. And there's all these hammock chairs hanging from the ceiling. We're like, this is cool. Let's get a thing. And you picked one out. You kept calling
immortality drink. It tasted like I took a shot of MDMA or something.
Yeah, it came in like this, like a vintage crystal shot glass, clear liquid.
It did not taste good, but I didn't think that was the point.
And mine came in like this tiny, like 3-ounce wooden goblet that was beet-based, supposed to be for my kidneys, libido. Apparently, other things too. Ingredients, we didn't know what they were. We were just rolling the dice and be like,
I just thought we were having some tea, having a laugh, having a gas, as it were.
Well, we did feel good after that. That is post we went on the run.
Let's put a pin in that. And that's,
Okay.
we felt good and we left. Sat in the hammocks. And we went and did the load in and the sound check. It was a very different venue. We completely changed our sound design, trying to learn from the night before. Also didn't have great heat, but they had about 8 space heaters in a giant auditorium. I'm like, these aren't going to do a damn thing, but thank you for trying. Let's all shut the doors. Let's email everyone. Please bring blankets, whatever you need to be comfy.
It ended up not being too cold that night.
Beautiful crowd, beautiful show, except that was at 10 a.m. when we had those magical metaphysical elixirs.
Yeah.
At 5 p.m.
Well, 5 p.m., I finally had my lunch, which was Chipotle, cold Chipotle. And I had this packet, Trace Minerals again, water bottle.
Which is just vitamins.
Yeah, it's just like electrolytes, essentially. And then my stomach got upset. And then I was meeting with the peer support. So every day, my peer support volunteers would show up at around 5:30. And then I'd have a meeting with them once they all got there to kind of go over the evening and what to expect and where to be and what not to do. Just kind of get everybody on the same page, give them credentials. I'm usually doing that in the green room. And I was in the green room with the 3 of them that night. And I started to notice I was feeling weird. I was sitting there in conversation and lights started, like colors started to get strange. And my mouth got really dry. And my body... I started to get activated in my body, similar to what I know feels like an edible weed high. And I got through the meeting, and then you were doing your sound check.
Yeah.
And I said, how much longer do you have?
Yeah, I looked at you as you said, something's off with her.
And I just sat on the edge of the stage waiting for you to be done, kind of like...
with a furrowed brow.
and like kneading my hands together. And you got done, and I said, I need to talk to you. You're like, what is it, hon? And I said, well... I think I'm high. And you said, you're not high. How could you be high? And I said, I most definitely 100% feel high, and it's not good.
Yeah, and I know you very well. And what you were experiencing is exactly what I've seen you experience on edible THC before, which is not typically, I don't know if it's not a good combo for you.
Yeah, I say like THC and I, by itself, we're just not good friends. I don't have like a good just cannabis
Edibles,
high.
It's a very clear response for you, and it's not the same with other substances. So it was definitely, it's like, yeah, this is, in my mind, it's like you're acting like the negative reaction you have to an edible.
Yes.
And I was very confused because I'm like, there was no way you could have had it unless someone potentially dosed you that day, which there was a potential for that. We won't go into it, but there was a potential in retrospect. But of course, option 2 is it was this magical metaphysical elixir that was had 7 hours previously. So
it just turned on. So it's like an hour. It's like 6 o'clock. Doors are at 7.
No weed in the magical elixir.
I don't remember what the ingredients
there
were.
absolutely was not. This was not a weed store.
No. And you would think that there'd be like a little cannabis bud next to it. Like they put like a V next to the vegan dishes on the menu.
Yeah.
Like something
that was not it.
But regardless, I was high.
You were leveled.
I was leveled. And it was an hour before I was supposed to go on stage and do the opening. It was 6 o'clock. And we went back into the bus, and you, to your credit, were really kind and patient and loving with me, where you're just like, I'm here with you. We're going to get through this. What do you need? Let me help you breathe. Let me sit with you.
Like, you're going to get a blanket and you're going to be a participant tonight. You're going to be,
yes,
and
like
you were
there's
down
no
for the
way
count.
I can't talk to people. I can't
God,
get on stage.
You were really a mess.
I could barely talk to you.
Yeah, your desire in those moments is like, I need to find a closet and curl up. And I'm like, that will definitely make things worse. It's like, you need to do some yoga and breathe. And you're like, no, I need to find a hole to like curl up in.
Yeah, it's like a disappear, freeze response.
But it will absolutely feel more alone, more paranoid. Not a good place to go.
Totally, because my mind goes to very bad places.
You were shaking and there were tears and hyperventilation. I mean, you were really hurting.
Yeah, it wasn't
I
pretty.
was like, okay, and the show's like, we got 15 minutes and then we got to do the show. So that was a surprise.
That was a
but
surprise.
But yet again, we overcame, and it was a beautiful performance, beautiful community, beautiful happening. But, we kept going through different adversity. Mind you, the night before, when I was flying and you all were taking that long drive,
Yeah.
one of our members had an anaphylactic thing in the middle of the night, fell out of his bunk, and was had an allergic reaction. People thought we got to call 911 while we're like driving through the mountains. That was scary. Very scary.
Very scary.
From some Chinese food or something they ate. So we went on from there to, I think, LA, right?
I feel like it was San Diego next.
No.
Oh, wait, no, you're right.
LA, yeah. And LA was interesting because we were in like on the 10th floor of it. We walk into this space. It's this huge space, but it's like a low ceiling, massive square footage, all white, almost like you're in the Matrix or something.
Yeah.
You know, like it's going to be a tech support center or a campaign office. There's not a single piece of furniture or anything, just white walls up on a high rise. So that was unusual.
Yes.
And we had some more, before this, we had more interpersonal stuff going on tour where like we didn't have enough production help and we had to bring on help. And that was like a last minute thing, blah, blah, blah.
It ended up being incredible. We're so
But the way it
grateful
went
for
down,
him.
it was more like another demand, or else this whole thing's over. And then here we are in LA, and I won't go into the details, but more stuff happened because of personal demands, and that was kind of a last straw for me where we ended up replacing a team member last minute, which was a very difficult decision, but it had to be done because it was starting to damage the show. It already was damaging the show, but then this was a very clear, and that's not okay for me when it's one thing to damage me, and I'm like,
or Radha.
Yeah, I got to buck up and I'll just have to deal. But when the audience, this is why we're doing it. It's an act of service. And I have nothing but respect and want to honor people who pay their hard-earned money, their time, get a babysitter, whatever, and coming to be vulnerable and trust us. We need to do everything in our power to serve them, to do the best we can do. That's all I ask is we do the best we can do. And that wasn't the best that could be done. So then I was like, that crosses a line where I'm going to protect my audience, or I'm going to protect our community and be like, we can't do that. We can't do that.
Totally unacceptable.
We just can't. So we had to bring in a new person within 24 hours, fly them in that we didn't know. That was a recommendation, which is a huge risk, but we did it, and we continued on to Vegas, I believe, and then back to San Diego.
Yeah. We had a day off. We got to go to Wes's birthday party.
Wes is your friend from high school who goes by Diplo, and you guys are friends, and his birthday party happened to be the same night as my show in LA, and my show is early. It started at 7, so we were done by 10:30, 11. So we were like, let's go. This is the first time I even went out anywhere on tour because I was trying to stay healthy.
Wouldn't drink any alcohol, wouldn't do anything, wouldn't go out.
Just tried to sleep and stay healthy.
Very isolated.
Very monastic.
And me with you with that. So we're both just like...
Yeah, by the way, no one on the tour is like, it was not a party type situation. I mean,
well,
we're all
it got
just
that
like,
way a little later, it seemed.
Well, not us, but
no.
Yes. Anyway, we're just trying to make it through.
I was nervous that you were going to say, no, we can't go to the party because we'll have to wear masks or we'll get COVID.
But what did I say?
You were so fun.
I said, let's just go.
You were really, really fun. And
I knew it was important to you to have a social night.
Yes.
So we fully did it.
Yeah.
And now let's tell the story. We're on the way to Wes's
we're in our
party.
Uber, and the next night, we were supposed to have dinner with Numinous, the tour partner.
And friends.
And it got moved to brunch. And so I was like, tomorrow night we're in LA. We could have dinner with anybody we want.
Day off.
It's our day off. Who do you want to have dinner with? Anybody at all. So you can have dinner with anybody except for Beck.
Why did you say that? Why did you randomly say I can't have dinner with Beck? We don't know Beck. I
say things because I think they're funny all of the time.
It was funny you said that because, if I had to just think through a Rolodex who lives in LA, which is a lot of people, he'd be on the list only because I respect him so much as an artist, and that'd be awesome. But it was very strange that you said that.
And you kind of ignored me, and then we kept
going. I thought
going.
about it. I couldn't think of anyone to have dinner
with. We get to the spot for the birthday party. There's tons of people there. We walk in, trying to get our bearings. Where are we? Where's
Oh my God.
Wes?
It's a
What's
super
happening?
Hollywood scene, like loud house music, whatever.
It's probably Diplo and Major Lazer that's playing, not just random
It was
music.
just super Hollywood. It was like, wow, drop the needle on the Hollywood party. Boom.
And then I say, oh my God, there's Beck.
And right there in front of us is Beck, which is weird. And not only is it weird, I'm just like, anytime weird things happen, synchronicities, you think, what's this all about? I don't know. But you're curious. And I don't know, while later, it's a bowling alley, the party. And I'm sitting on the couch at the bowling alley. And I look to my left, and right next to me is Beck.
He sat down next to you.
Well, we're sitting there together, and I'm still just like, that's cool. And then, I don't know, 10 minutes later, he's looking at me, and I turn over, and we're looking at each other. He's like, hey, man, what's up? And I'm like, hey, what's up? And we started talking, and I said, can I tell you something? God's honest truth. I got to tell you this. And I told him what just happened. I said, this is kind of a crazy synchronicity. And he's just like, oh, yeah, that's pretty crazy. And then we just talked about music and mixing and performing. And I was wearing earplugs because it was very loud. And he said, it's earplugs. That's probably a good idea. I was like, yeah, being a musician. He says, well, I lost so much hearing 3 years ago when I played with Nirvana. I said, really? 3 years ago? He said, oh, my God. He said, you have no idea how loud it is. I said, Dave Grohl's a loud drummer. He's like, it is so much louder than you think it might be. And it actually messed up my hearing. And then we just talked. You got him a water?
I did. I shook his hands. I gazed as I shook his hand for at least a solid 10 to 12 seconds. A highlight. Yeah. That's a highlight of one of my lives. I mean, Beck is one of my hero, my icons. Beck Bjork. Beck and Bjork.
Look, there were a lot of celebrities there, but for me, Beck, it was just cool. And then it was cool to get to hang and talk one-on-one. We would have, I think, talked much longer. It was just very loud. It's hard to, you have to lean in and do that thing where you're talking in someone's ear, which that's not the greatest way.
Did he have a good aroma? Did you notice?
I did not whiff him.
You didn't?
I did not whiff. I didn't.
Well, your nose is real sensitive. I thought you might notice even without an actual
I didn't want
whiff.
to just start whiffing. Yeah.
Okay.
But that was cool. That for me, that was just it was also just fun. It was
we
like, oh my God,
had a
universe.
great time. And Wes was so sweet. He introduced me to all of his friends, and I finally got to meet his baby mamas, and it was really, really, really fun.
Yeah. We were there just a couple hours, and then we went back to the bus, I guess, or was that a hotel? I don't know, whatever. So from there, we went on to Vegas, and this was another environmental situation where I get in there, and the venue is known for having projection. But the projection, there's so many projectors on the ceiling.
The projection meaning we're in a box and all of the walls are blank.
Area
and the
15.
Ceiling. Yeah. And so all the walls get projected onto with cool psychedelic projection mapping
cool
all over.
It's very cool what they can do there. But it was so loud, the fans, that I was like, we got to turn them off for what we're trying to do in this kind of tender space. And when they turned them off, it still was loud. But then I start hearing this ridiculous subwoofer bass sound coming from an adjacent space because the rest of their whole venue is it's all Meow Wolf. And I mean, like I'm at Disneyland or something. This sound bleed coming into our space. And I was very upset. And I said in sound check, I was like, I think we got to cancel this. I can't perform like this. I hear it throughout. It's like more music on top of my music.
After San Francisco, you were worried, more worried than normal about
caring.
The concert goers' experience. You're
of course.
People won't like hearing all this sub bleed.
Of course they won't. And it's me saying it doesn't matter how hard I work or how well I play, I can't overcome environmental issues such as sound bleed or bad sound or heat or noise or whatever it is. There's nothing. So that's why I was just trying to get ahead of it. And I having a real stink about it.
You were having a real stink about it.
Because I'm standing up again for our listeners, our community. And I think it was a problem. Yes. And that show, I also says we got to reach out and apologize because again, I find this to be unacceptable. It's not the level of experience that I want to be sharing with people.
Very
And
low probability you'll play at Area 51 again.
Area 15.
15.
Or Area 51. I would love to do a concert at
You'll
Area
do
51.
it again.
That would be
there.
killer. Come out on like a UFO, and like as part of like the stage set one day. But that was hard for me. And and also there was a lot of people on medicine at that show. And so it was this interesting energy. There's almost like soupy of like people in different dimensional energetic spaces while all this is happening. It was just and of course, it's no secret that Las Vegas in general, no offense to the people there, but it's not one of my favorite places. It's the energy of it's a little difficult for me.
And we all knew we were firing one of our team members that night.
Letting go.
Except for...
Well, we had to.
That person.
We had to. And then I won't go into the details, but letting that person go that night did not go well. I wasn't involved personally. We left that to, well, I won't get into it, but it went real bad. Or just there was drama that resulted in some bad decisions being made by other people that caused more problems for our tour. I was just stunned that all this was even going on. I really did my best to make things work. I really did. But again, so that was a long night. Let's just put it that way. That was a long night. And we had to go drive back to San Diego, and I was feeling pretty beat up. And we met with our new team member there. And we had a challenging sound check because, and this is all credit to this new member, but you're basically trying to learn on the fly here. And we had to hold the doors for an hour just to get things functional.
What was another night for you where you said, we're going to cancel the show?
Because I'm like, I would rather not do it than do one where the audience is saying, something held me back. But I wanted to give total props to San Diego. There was a line of people outside, and we went out there, and they were asked, like, if you'd like your money back and go home, I know we've held the doors an hour, we can. And no one did. And they all said, we are here to do ceremony.
We're here
to
for
support you. And we're going to wait. And they did. And it was one of the best. It was just a vibrant audience. It was a deep dive.
It was. Yes.
Beautiful experience.
Yeah. You get worked up sometimes where your nervous system blowout is like 9 or 10 out of 10.
That happens, yeah.
Yeah. And while you're trying to work through the technical stuff.
Oh my God. It was
and sound check.
That was really a 9 out of 10 on stress.
I was like, hun? Yeah, deep breath. Let's just take the time we need. Don't send everybody home. We'll figure this out. And it did get figured out.
It was just one of those situations. I said to the production manager, I was like, there's no option here. It's like we continue to hold the doors until we get this right, or we cancel right now. Those are the only two options. There's no physical way to just do the show.
But you got through it. Everybody got through it.
And props to everyone. The whole team got tighter. And every show after that, we started going smoother and smoother.
Better and better.
As an internal team. The energy leveled out.
Oh, as soon as we got rid of the bad apple, things shifted dramatically. Just everybody was then able to have like a good time and feel at ease and feel connected.
Yes. But that was a great show. And I noticed that sometimes when you have external pressures, it almost focuses me in a way where sometimes I almost do better as a performer, but it's not. I don't invite that. It's not worth the stress on the body. It's so intense. I think about the Keith Jarrett story about the Cone concert,
Well, I think about you back in your like New York actor in play days where you've said like you used to get so worked up before you'd get on stage for theater.
Yeah.
That's sort of become your defaults, like I need to freak out.
No. I think you misunderstood. I didn't get freaked out before plays and in theater back in the day.
Okay, tell me what used to happen.
There is actually much more disciplined. Like theater's so like, there were just moments in my, back in the acting days where like very heightened things would happen. Absolutely. Like crazy things would happen, where you have to go understudy and perform and you don't know the part.
The stress level's so intense.
Yeah, but typically it's more of a monastic. You're just doing it 8 times a week. It's at the repetition, keeping it the same. You're not typically. I didn't do shows that were on the road like that, where every venue is different, and you're typically at a theater.
I'm just speaking to like the number of times that you get really stressed out to that not happening. It's maybe like at least 50-50.
No, I hope not.
From where I sit.
That's really bad odds right there.
And so that's where I wonder, like, oh, is this just part of the process?
No.
In some unconscious way?
No. Well, look, maybe. But I actually want to say, like, a lot of it has to do with I'm the only performer. So it's like a one-man show situation. There's no one else to lean on. And we're trying to do something that almost every time we do it, we're experimenting and trying new things and trying to grow it in a way. And so we're always changing it. And there's all these,
very alive.
And a lot of the things that are stressful are external circumstances. So, I mean, one of the things I could do better at is rolling with those and being like, hey, there are always going to be, most likely, like sound bleed or things. And yeah, I should advocate for them to be right, but how much do I want to let that rock me?
Yes.
I haven't cracked the code on that, but I think I've been growing. I mean, again, all I can say is the shows, I look back at all of them, and I definitely did the best I could do at all of them. I didn't
absolutely,
and I think they're all pretty solid as far as the show.
We certainly got into a groove. You kind of developed a set list. You had like a formula that was working. That from my vantage point as like a listener was really cool and beautiful, and the time would actually fly by. The 2 hours of you performing would go by so quickly every night after night.
Yeah. I'm going to keep this pointed towards your mouth like that. There we go.
Okay.
So we've come up to about an hour here, so I don't know. We don't need to.
Well, we're almost through. But I do want to go back a couple days.
Just talking about it all, I'm feeling like we just got back, and I'm feeling like this, the stress of just everything we went through. The highs too. Like just, it's so much. It's so much. And you were great, by the way. So supportive and solid. Like the 2 women on our crew, I think held the whole thing together.
Yeah, myself and Lexus.
All the men were a mess, and the women were just like the rocks,
Yeah. The men of the 2 women were a mess.
Hey, come on. It's not that simple.
At times. No, but it's a role. That's like a rock, like you're saying, that you just have to be like, boom, I'm holding all of this. We're doing this.
Well, we headed eastward.
But I want to give a shout out to Tony G. Because we saw him in LA, and it was really one of the highlights of my entire time on the road was that day that we spent with Tony.
Tony's our friend, and he's been on the podcast. I highly recommend going back and listening to our episode with Tony G.
He's an amazing yoga teacher, an amazing human, and now, well, he's always been a painter, but he's gotten back into it. And
he's such a great painter, such a great artist, such a great human, and we had a really restorative day spending our day off with him in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kudos
had
to
a lovely
Tony.
Brunch with Numinous. Turned out to be wonderful as opposed to dinner, so that was awesome. Great to see them again, popping into different shows. Peyton and
all the way
team. Through. By the way, they were great partners. Talk about like easy and
easy
supportive.
Breezy. That
just
was
supportive.
The easy breezy
yeah,
aspect.
They were the easy breezy. Yeah, I was the. Oh God, I don't know. So we made our way to Phoenix or Santa Fe.
We went to Phoenix, got to hang out
Beautiful
with
show.
a good friend, Gordon Ogden, and his crew with Plant Body Soul, and
turned on the disco ball at the end.
So rad. We were in the Walter Warehouse, which was, Burning Man, art cars, really cool community there. The disco ball above your head during the big beats at the ends. That was fun.
That was fun. Yeah. And we went to Santa Fe, and we had a day off there. Sounds like a lot of day offs. We probably only had 4 or something in total.
Yeah, 4 out of 21.
But Santa Fe was cool. Super cold. We had a great day off. We got gifted by 10,000 Waves to go up there and soak and have a lunch, which was awesome. Shout out to 10,000 Waves. And stay at Ivy Ross's place, our dear friend, with Lorraine, who's there.
They made us dinner, Lorraine and her friends.
First not eating out meal.
Mm-hmm.
And Lorraine, I invited her to come play on stage like Sheila did at the show in Santa Fe. And that was a highlight for me because I love playing with other people. And Lorraine is on the Ram Dass album, plays the saxophone on Love Everyone and A Miracle.
And she's on Possible.
And she is the speaker on the song Tabula Rasa, which I sampled from the podcast we did together, which I also recommend listening to.
And you had it in your live set, this ceremony tour.
Lorraine Weiss. Yeah, she was part of every set where I mashed her talking into essentially the sort of a rendition of the music for like taking off an old shoe. Mm-hmm. But with it was a whole new thing that I was really enjoying, kind of darker and more minor. It was fun. So it was a blast having her there. And that was down at like the farmer's market railway station, so trains were going by. It was interesting. It was cool. We got to see Elena Brower, which is fun.
Yeah, our time with Elena, she was so generous and so warm and so lovely.
Love Elena.
We had a really beautiful lunch, and that was the first time I've met her.
And she got us dinner.
Oh yeah, and she brought us dinner. Yeah,
so sweet.
That's what I'm saying. So generous, so warm, so like, here, let me care for you. Like beautiful mother vibes. And you two are kind of like sister brother.
Totally,
which is sweet.
My very first yoga music thing ever was with her in 11/11/11, New York City. So I mean, we go back to like some very beginnings of that, and we've been supporters of each other ever since. And it was just cool. So she moved there in the pandemic. It was just so cool to see, like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be able to like drop into your world a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's so proud of where you've gone since then.
Well, she's been a big supporter.
Yeah. I remember that show in Santa Fe too. There was this one guy standing outside looking out the window, like through the window, looking in the window, like he just wanted to be in. And so I eventually just signaled him over to the front door. I was like, come on. And it was so cold outside. It's like 20 degrees. I'm like, just join our ceremony, please.
You let him in. It was nice.
There was space.
It's one of the things, again, going back to like environmental stuff that we had to learn. Even just like people being in line in the cold outside. It's like, you probably can only do these kinds of shows in the earlier fall and later spring is the ideal time, because it'd be either too hot or too cold where it just becomes challenging.
I don't want to do it again where it's cold.
Well, it also was hard even when we did have decent heating in a room. The heating HVAC system would be kind of loud.
Yes.
And then we'd struggle with this like, well, do you want heat or do you want a bunch of noise? And that was a battle, Yeah,
we were doing that in Phoenix. We turned it off and on a couple times.
And Santa Fe, pretty much everywhere.
Santa Fe.
Austin.
Oh, and in Austin.
So Austin was the last show, and it was incredible. But also, again, a cold snap was unseasonably cold, and we were fighting the cold. And I want to give, again, shout out to the community for just being like, hey, we can do this. But a beautiful, beautiful evening. Beautiful. It's great to see Justin, Ren, and Amy there. And our numinous friends came back. Some of the Fit
Brittany
for Service people, our
and
friends Brittany and Jonah. So it was actually a really great way to wrap things up. Really positive.
Very positive.
Very cold, but very positive.
The only time that someone asked for peer-to-peer support too was in Austin.
And you gave it, yeah?
Yeah, it was in Austin. So we made it through all of those. I was trying to tell this to Krishna last night, give him some perspective when he was...
Well, I don't like talking about it that way, to be honest, because...
Talking about what way?
Like an energy like we got away with something.
Am I talking about it like that?
Yeah, maybe it's just my own... I don't know. I don't want to use the word superstition, but where we're saying like we didn't have, and it's like, well, actually, I'd say it differently. I'd say you were tracking many, many people who are on deep experiences many nights, and I have to think like that attention and care and the container is what happened, and therefore everyone actually was able to be in the right mindset.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's more like we actually did face many instances they just went so well.
What I'm speaking to is, people were on a variety of self-prescribed medicines.
That we'll never know,
We intentionally knew that they would be doing that. And so we wanted to create a safe container. That's why I did the opening and held the space and all that we do to go into that altar and all of it. And the smudging, the volunteer peer-to-peer support.
Just everything.
Naming
the vibe.
The vibe.
Just what,
our vibe.
Yeah. The house music.
And people were in journeys, but no one that we know of had what you might call a bad experience or a disruptive experience, or sure, it could have been challenging. Maybe we don't know, but that's not a bad thing in a psychedelic journey.
Absolutely.
So we let everybody know every show, we have support here for you if you need it. All you have to do is ask. No questions. Non-judgmental.
And we're in this this is what made the biggest experiment of this entire endeavor, is that we're not inviting it, and we're actually not conjoining or even condoning it, but
never
we're
really
supporting
spoke to it.
But we're supporting. So it's sort of saying we're in this dance of a mixture of legality and also moral responsibility and ethics.
It's harm reduction. We're doing harm reduction,
but with strangers.
Yeah, that we know nothing
about in real time during a concert, and so it was. I thought we had meetings about this. We really had an approach that we thought would be the best that we could do, and I'm proud of what you did. And so when I say, we didn't have any major instances, I'm like, that's because of the work that was done. I really think that.
I totally agree with you. I don't think it's random. I think we put a lot of intentionality and care into it, and to the best of our knowledge, we didn't have. There were no harmful experiences. But the last ceremony, someone finally asked for support.
Yeah.
That finally happened. And so I was with them, and they, interestingly, weren't on a substance. They were totally sober. They were mostly, it came across as like an emotional panic attack, where she was like, I don't know what's going on. I can't stop crying. I've got all this pain in my chest. This is just coming up. I think it's coming up because I feel like I'm in a safe space, and now I don't know what to do. I'm totally overwhelmed. And so I was with her for probably a good 30 minutes, and it turned into a somatic experiencing trauma healing session, then entering into like a little bit of soul retrieval in a way. And we brought it around full circle.
Lucky them. I'm sorry, but lucky them that they got that whole session with you, one-on-one, and the concert. I mean, wow, what a full meal deal there.
I think it was really healing for them. It was just so unexpected.
It's a lot comes up in these experiences, and also there's a lot of energies in the room. It is a collective experience that influences us, and so it made a lot of sense for me. We've seen that many times, whereas it's not about the medicine, so to speak, or the psychedelic. There are many roads to Rome, and that's why we actually, and I don't typically speak about psychedelics not even once in any of the concerts, because that's not really what we're doing. We're there actually. Well, what is that tool for? It's for the inner inquiry and work. And some people, for all of us, frankly, it's a natural process. The music itself is emotional and takes you there.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, every night I'm fully sober, and you would play that Sit Around the Fire
Except
song.
Santa Cruz.
I was the only person that needed psychedelic peer support. It ended up being me.
Yeah.
With the whole journey.
And it was me giving it.
And you were great. So thanks for that. And then I got to be a participant. But I was going to say, all the other nights, I'm 100% sober, and you'd play that last song before the encore, and I'd have this like huge, deep, spiritual, meditative DMT blast every night. It was incredible. So to your point, there's many gateways in, and the music is what will take you there if you will give it your attention. And that's what we were simply inviting everyone to do each night.
Well, I am so proud of everyone who showed up for this. And I want to again thank you, listener, if you were able to come, or if you supported it from afar. It meant a lot to me, and it was a beautiful endeavor and beautiful happening. It really was. And thank you again to you for coming along, putting your own life aside to come on this tour and opening every show. Again, the set and the setting that was created just immediately as you walk on stage was actually extremely intentional. And you're the secret weapon to make it, a good experience going from that. And I want to thank everyone on the crew again, and our tour producers, Live Night Events, everyone on the crew.
Crew, let's just say Lexus, Max, Junior, Lorenzo, John, Adam number 1, Adam number 2. Who else? I think that's all of them. Our bus drivers, Tay and Tom.
And I want to thank again everyone on my team. This is something was a lot of work to put on, and I just want to say thanks. And last little fun tidbit, we spent some time off in Austin. Thanks to Brittany and Jonah for hosting us as we cared for their dogs over the holidays. Thanks to Kyle Kingsbury and his family and friends for hosting us for Thanksgiving. Got to work out with Aubrey Marcus, got to have dinner with Duncan Trussell and his lovely wife, Erin. But yesterday, we had to fly back to get all of my gear, which is now at a storage place in Salt Lake. The bus drove it back there. And then we had to drive all the way back to Boise last night.
Which is a 5-hour drive, Salt Lake to Boise.
Yeah.
Flew to Salt Lake. Plan is to get the gear and drive home after being away for a month.
Yeah. So, and I get up to the car and someone had smashed my window and broken into my car. Just one last kick in the balls before you head home. And so let's just say I have to deal with that tomorrow when it's Monday. They stole things, blah, blah, blah.
And it was freezing. We drove home.
We drove 5 hours home, and it was about
with a
32
missing
degrees
window
in the dark. It was loud and freezing, and that's how we got home.
Yeah,
last night.
it was
So hey, all you kids out there,
there was no ticker tape
you
parade.
want to be a rock star? Let me tell you, it's not always as romantic as it's a lot of hurry up and wait, and dealing with modern problems. And don't get me wrong, I said this to you. How many times did I say this to you?
What did you say?
When things were going hard and the diesel fumes are coming in the back room and we're sitting there, and I said, you know what? This is the best job in the world.
You did say that.
Because it is. And I'm so grateful. I'm so great. It's not, and let's be honest, it's not a job. It's a I have to do this. I love doing it. I couldn't be more grateful for being able to express creativity and share it with people. And
well, I'm so proud of you for hanging in there, because you were at your breaking edge from almost the very beginning and at different points.
It doesn't even count like before where you're trying to prepare to get ready to go.
And so your fortitude, and you're like, even though I don't know, I hope you don't dislike it that I say this, but it's almost like it seems like you couldn't be having a harder time. And
at
yet,
moments, there are many graceful moments.
Yes,
as
but
well.
You're able to like breathe through it, be through it, reroute it, move past it, and then still deliver, opening your heart and soul and being so vulnerable for your audience members and your people. You just like don't
gotta
stop.
buck up.
You
gotta
you
buck
are
up.
so professional in that way. It's very admirable. Over and over again, I've learned that about you. Where that's what I know too, is like when you're on that edge and you're like, I can't. I'm like, but I know that you can because you've done this before.
Psychedelics honestly have taught me some of those lessons where you find edges in your own heart and consciousness, and when you do work through them, you're stronger because on the other side you see the grace. And that was what brought me to tears many times in this tour, was seeing my own humanity. And being on the back of the bus after a show, and the show was so beautiful, and I know what a mess I was before the show, and some of the things I might have said to myself or others about like, I want to quit or yada yada yada, and then to be showered with grace, and to look at the picture of Maharaji and just feel so humbled and that undeserving in a way, and to know that like when you are given so much, and no, we all are, but when it's so obvious, all I can say is like, well, now I really, really want to give this over to everyone else, because what else is there? This isn't about me feeling good. This is about, because it's just every night, and then being just, that's all I can say, showered in grace and feeling overwhelmed with gratitude. So let's leave it at that. So we'll see our friends who are going to be at the Esalen retreat soon, and hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you, Radha.
Yes, thank you.
And you have a thing with Double Blind coming up.
Oh, yeah. December 4th, it's an online workshop on preparing your body for a psychedelic journey. It's going to be recorded. So if you can't watch it, it's on December 4th at, I want to say 12:30 Pacific
Your
time.
site or Double Blind site to sign up?
Double Blind site. It's all, if you go to my website, there's an event link to it also.
Wonderful.
Yeah, just my name, Marissa Radha. But I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be great. And I have a op-ed essay I wrote in their upcoming magazine that comes out in December 2022. So check that out.
Thank you again to everyone, all the lovely humans, all the beautiful eyes that I gazed into over and over every day. So much love and gratitude was expressed, and I feel very humbled by all of it. And thank you for including me.
Keep walking your walk. Don't take any shit. But if you do, what do we do?
Grace.
Do it with grace.
So